Regressor of the Fallen Family, Chapter 20. Logan's Growth and Betrayal. At that moment, Logan could feel that he had advanced to a new level. A second core, revolving around the one he already possessed, had formed. He immediately knew that the two cores were intricately connected more than anything else. The force that used to flow directly from the core to his body was now amplified twofold in an instant as it passed through the second core. Wong. The sudden surge of power nearly made his body tremble. Moreover, he could sense that the quality of the force had grown as well. It had become stickier and denser, giving him confidence in its efficiency beyond a mere quantitative increase. Additionally, achieving a dual core signified that he was ready to learn the next secret technique of his martial heritage, Iron Splitter. Just thinking about the power of the first technique, he was certain that the second would far exceed his expectations. If he could master that technique before the war, even high-grade knights would pose no fear to him. His elated consciousness naturally brought the secret techniques to his mind, and from then on, his research, which lasted until dawn's light greeted his closed eyes, did not cease. As expected, it's not easy. Despite the disappointment in his words, Logan's expression was not too dark. It had taken 3 months to master the wave splitter, the first technique. With patient effort, mastering the second before the war seemed entirely possible. Just as Logan was contentedly enjoying the new morning sunlight, someone knocked on his door before he fully relished the quiet. "Come in. My lord, did you sleep well last night?" The one who entered with a snicker was Rick. Whenever Logan saw that face with such a smile, he knew. There's a problem again, isn't there? A problem? If that were the case, I wouldn't be smiling, right? You only have that expression when there's a problem for me, but something fun for you. Ha ha, my lord is joking. So, nothing serious then? I'm off to training. The family head has requested your presence for a meal. The whole family. Logan was about to head for the door when Rick shouted abruptly, making him grab the boy's cheek mercilessly. "Hey, Trouble. What trickery is this? It really hurts. What's so troublesome about having a meal with the family? It's the first time since you ran away. That's only in a typical family relation. We always had breakfast together until a few years ago." Oh, now that he thought about it, that did seem true. That's right. There were times like that. Distracted by memories flashing through his mind, Rick didn't give him a moment to get sentimental. "Hurry up, they're waiting for you. If you were training, interrupt. If you were sleeping, wake up anyway." "Now? Why?" "What are you talking about? Today is your birthday, and the 20th at that." What? You should hurry." Sighing deeply, Logan exhaled a breath. Among the noblaic families of the Empire, some celebrated the coming of age with lavish parties, but this practice was far removed from the Grandia Kingdom's McLean family. It was customary for the occasionally separated family members to gather and celebrate over a meal. To Logan, however, even this small tradition was nothing but a nuisance. I should be able to ignore such minor customs. Thinking from the perspective of the birthday person himself, it was an absurd notion, but given the current mood, anyone could understand. Discounting the greetings to his father and stepmother before the meal. "You're of age now." "Yes." This was essentially the only conversation during the meal. "I'll just eat quickly and leave." With that thought, Logan swallowed the dessert on his plate in one gulp. "I have eaten well. Then Sit down." "Yes." But even leaving this uncomfortable place was not up to him. Watching Logan's annoyed expression, Patrick, who also finished his dessert in one go, opened his mouth. "Logan, you are the heir to the McLean family." What's he trying to say? With an uneasy premonition, Logan's eyebrows twitched, and, as expected, a rather unpleasant topic arose. "According to tradition, we should discuss the family inheritance on the day of your coming of age. Dear. However," calming his surprised wife with a gesture, Patrick continued his words. "The actions you've taken up to now have mostly been unsuitable for an heir to our family." With that statement, color returned to Marianne's face, but Patrick was not finished speaking. "However, I've heard from the knights recently that you've shown a considerable change. As I promised earlier, I will give you a 1-year grace period. After that, Your position in the family will be based on the behavior you show. Dear, that's. Let it be. I'm not saying I won't give Runyon a chance. Though she had more to say, Marianne's face turned red and white as she refrained from speaking further. Runyon simply forced himself to swallow his food. Whether it was meat or rubber, he wasn't sure. In the midst of this suffocating situation, Logan dropped a bombshell. Why wait for a year? Just give the heir position to Runyon. I'm not interested. Unbeknownst to others, the family crisis was ongoing. Even if they survived this immediate crisis, another dire one was expected within a decade. There's no guarantee of survival focusing on that alone. I don't have time for an heir issue. Firm in his resolve, Logan spoke again. Runyon, with his natural talent for martial arts, fits better as the heir to a knightly family. Though it was partly an excuse, it was also part of his sincerity. But the father's thoughts seemed to differ. His brow furrowed, his lips quivered, and soon his face reddened as he burst into a bellow. The heir to the McLean family. Does this proud position look frivolous to you? Who are you to decide who gives and takes? The resounding shout filled the mansion. His father, Patrick McLean, seemed as if he had received an unprecedented insult as he glared fiercely at his eldest son. At that unexpectedly tense moment, everyone froze until, bang, crash. My lord, Marquis of Teslon has declared war. An unforeseen variable shattered the icy atmosphere in an instant. We bear a grudge against the McLean family for the unjust death of our ancestor Kyle Teslon. Out of nowhere, a magical communication had thrown the McLean family into chaos. A state of emergency was declared, and a family council was convened. It was an issue that dated back 60 years, to the time when the McLean family began to fall. No one understood why this grudge from the past had suddenly resurfaced, whether to investigate the cause or to send emissaries, but it was decided to determine a course of action in a grand assembly. As everyone was taken aback, Logan, too, was perturbed for a different reason. Why so early? The event had occurred almost 2 months earlier than his previous life's memories. I thought there would be more time. Though he had no idea what had brought on this situation earlier than expected, he didn't have time just to worry. My lord, it's time for the meeting. I know. Had he had a bit more time to master the second form of the divine sword, he would have been more confident, but even now, he was not overly anxious. Winning is all that matters whenever it may be. The power is enough as it is. The unexpected variable had arisen, but his confidence, built over careful preparation, remained unshaken. However, others had different thoughts. The Teslon Marquisate has an army of knights that outnumbers our own by half. Even with our family head's presence, the odds are. Their potential regular forces exceed 1,000 men, more than double our resources. We must seek a truce. With both knights and common soldiers vastly outnumbering them, the McLean family was at an objective disadvantage. Thus, the conference hall inevitably became chaotic. If tradition is followed, they will set out 1 week after the declaration of war. The distance from the enemy's fortress to ours is 3 days' march. We have fewer soldiers, so a defensive strategy should be. First, issue a conscription decree. Gather as much force as possible, set up defenses, patrol. No, we must send emissaries first. Amidst the chaos, not typical of Noblaic meetings, the chamber was filled with uproar. With a scowl, Patrick, who was watching this confusion, suddenly stomped his foot. Bang! Silence, everyone! His thunderous voice silenced the noisy assembly. Even if the royal authority isn't as it used to be, these people have declared war without royal permission. This is clearly a deliberate act. To those who are speaking of truce, do you really think before speaking? His stern look swept across the chamber, and those who had been voicing opinions of sending emissaries and seeking peace all shut their mouths. With a stern rebuke, the lord who steered the family's opinion toward war continued to shout, "Everyone prepare for war, and speak of strategies for victory. All other opinions will not be tolerated." Abruptly defined in direction, the vassals' opinions quickly organized. Conscription will take place over 3 days. The soldiers' weapons and armor, knights' training. As preparations and organization for war were set in motion, Opinions concerning Logan began to surface. Will the young lords join the battle? It was obvious for the force-using brothers. Now that I think about it, the eldest son trains with the knights. Will the young lords join the knightly ranks? It was the MacLean family, long descended from knights, though now fallen. For them, it was only natural for the family's direct descendants, now of age, to participate in combat. At that suggestion, Patrick nodded without hesitation. My sons will also join the battle, especially Logan, who has come of age, should fulfill a role befitting him. Logan didn't object, and so his deployment was confirmed. However, there was a bit of an issue with his role. I heard your mercenaries are training for cavalry, is that correct? That's right. A well-trained cavalry can be considered the equivalent of at least 3 infantrymen. Can your mercenaries take on that role? Absolutely. At Dwayne's words, Logan responded with a confident smile. However, very few truly believed him. At least it's better than nothing. Perhaps the young lord's toy soldiers might actually be useful. Doubtful. They're just lowly mercenaries. They'll probably run at the first sign of trouble. The disparagement towards Logan extended to his mercenaries, and those who had never seen their training denounced them with unanimously negative opinions. Logan steadfastly presented his argument without wavering. Father, my mercenaries will not just replace 3 infantrymen, but 10. We have been training in unison for several months, so please allow us to operate as a separate detachment. Are you saying you won't follow the family's command? It would be more helpful to the overall military power if we act separately. That's fine. Permission granted. The approval came too easily. Probably because the mercenaries were not considered a substantial military asset. For whatever reason, it was good news for Logan. Thank you. Still, not everything went according to plan. However, you will assign someone else to command them. You will join the knights. Excuse me?